Badlands, explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Everywhere you go, your manners are with you, and they leave their mark. They help you feel sure of yourself too, and they make an impression on people.
Demonstrators wreak havoc in Washington, D.C.
Facebook 15 to 20 years to demoralize nations.
Make political commitments to curb population growth.
We didn't simulate this, we just practice.
What the hell are they recording this for? 8 million adults are affected by it.
Don't try it.
There will be no outcome that leaves Saddam Hussein in power.
A brand new group called ISIL.
We're speeding up training of ISIL forces.
The one person who wasn't random was the security guard.
America was founded as a constitutional republic.
Kick the incumbents out, send citizens to Washington.
I will totally obliterate the deep state. We will obliterate the deep state.
Hello. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing good, Brad. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Got a little Rumble studio action going on here. Pretty excited to check that out. I'm pretty excited for the show tonight, as I am every Wednesday night. I'm excited to hang out with all the people out there. And especially right now, man, the world's going pretty nuts. Shocker, right?
It is. Yes. Now the people are saying that they can't see anything on screen now. They hear voices, no echo, but no video. Video from the void of space. Everybody, just, this is not me controlling anything tonight. It's Brad. People were like, can't see you.
It's showing on the Rumble studio.
Everybody refresh, okay? Because Brad's showing it on the Rumble studio that it's working, and I'm actually trying to check over here and see for myself. Everybody. Whoa. Yeah, definitely audio coming through Rumble, but there is no video. That's so odd.
We are in the void. Okay, that is definitely.
Check your camera. Check your camera in Rumble Studio. Make sure it's OBS virtual camera.
Okay, yeah.
And make sure the OBS virtual camera is on in OBS.
Okay. Oh, it's switched to the Logitech. That's funny because it's showing the OBS virtual. Stable camera. Let's try that. OBS. Okay. How's this? Is this maybe a little better here? That's weird. It just totally like switched my thing to Logitech, even though it was still showing the OBS. And give it a second to catch up. And maybe we are. I think Logitech, even though. I don't. That's weird. I did a test with this, and it worked. It worked on my regular YouTube.
So I had a similar issue earlier today. My audio wasn't working. Now people are saying, nope, I see you not. It's not working. At least the video at the start worked. That's crazy. And I can't see it, Brad. So I don't know what you're seeing over there.
OBS camera. Let's see. I can bring this over here and do that. This is what it looks like. And
this is definitely a Rumble problem. Wait, go to presentation.
Yeah,
go to presentation.
That's what I had on normally, because that's how I was able to do it the first time. And OBS virtual camera. That's how it was working.
Can you show me your OBS window so I can maybe verify that that's correct?
Yeah, I literally just recorded a stream like this, like 20 minutes ago on my regular thing.
Yeah,
with Abby, she was sitting in as you.
And virtual camera was definitely on. That's really strange. Yeah, Rumble is totally showing that it should be working.
This is very odd. Can they?
Great. Yeah.
LOKW Cross says, show me your OBS. Come on, guys, quit teasing. I don't know. I'm not even sure. Maybe this
go click on background, okay? And I want to see if it switches to the background on the live stream. You guys, so you should be seeing a screen which is just the title screen, altered state right now.
Yep. Okay, it popped up.
It did pop up.
That popped up.
Okay.
Now let's see if we go to presentation.
Yeah, go back to presentation and let's see if
that works. And see, no, it goes back to blank. That is freaking weird. Okay. Well, I gotta say, I'm not 100% sure what to do here. Manage participants.
That's so weird. Well, is it possible to? It's not. You can't do, and you can't do. Can you do screen share? Could you do like just a share of us in OBS? Like have us be the background? Have the Zoom call be the background?
That could certainly work. Let's see.
Yeah. And then we just won't share anything else from anywhere else. And that way, at least people will see our lips moving.
Let's see here. Okay, let's see. You are sharing your Zoom screen at the moment. Let's see if that pops up here.
Oh, I see you. I see you.
There we go. All right.
You can see us?
Woohoo. Yeah,
right.
now I'm just sharing my Zoom now. So that seems to be working.
Hey.
All right.
Wait a second. Yeah. You might as well just I mean, because we've got me twice and then you once.
Oh, let's see if this, it might not let me use my camera because it's being used for OBS. That's funny.
Oh,
and OBS is doing all the audio.
Oh, so you have to use OBS. Oh no. Oh
classic.
gosh.
Zach Inception.
Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. Well, I guess we can
yes. Sorry guys. Thanks for bearing with us.
This, I suppose. Anyways, you guys, we had a great show for you tonight too. Promise.
We definitely did. We're going to talk about a lot of shuffling with the different hearings. I wonder if this is a reaction to the case that just closed with the convictions. I'm not sure why. It certainly, I think, is having a better response than they thought it would. It seems like it's actually galvanized people rather than demoralized and lost some people, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I think this has been a spectacular backfire for the deep state. And they were thinking this was going to take Trump off the table. It was going to remove him. People were going to abandon him, and it's done exactly the opposite. There's quite a few people out there who already understood what they were doing and how far they were willing to go to try to destroy him and take him out of the running. Yeah. And now even more people realize this. And if it wasn't for the fact that they had done this and done it so blatantly, I don't know that Donald Trump would have gained as much momentum as he has. I mean, since he was convicted, since the verdict was handed down, he's raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Now it's Wednesday. I don't know how much he's raised between Monday and Wednesday, but I mean, I would imagine it's, probably another $50 million a day, let's say.
Yeah.
And people are just flocking to him. Now, you were mentioning when you mentioned the hearings, are you talking specifically about Georgia? You thinking that Georgia might be in response to the New York verdict?
Yeah. And just wondering, because this is they halted it. They kind of put it on pause for right now with the district attorney, Fannie Willis. Basically, with that coming in, would you say October? They're going to have the appeal to her. She should be removed. I think they should all be removed. They're all blatantly biased. Is this like, I don't know. I guess everyone has their own sort of bias, but if you're trying to try a case, how do you get unbiased people though? It's weird. Like, these aren't just like, oh, I kind of lean this way, or like, I hate this man forever, I'm going to try him for the loosest crimes I could find. The one that just went on with Mershon, and going through it last night. I was reading some of the transcripts of some of the cases, and they're like, literally, they're not even letting the defense's witnesses talk. They get 2 sentences out and they go, objection sustained. They'll get another sentence out, objection sustained. They're not even letting them talk. This is a guy who could totally destroy Michael Cohen's credibility. It was Michael Cohen's lawyers, the one we were looking at, Costello. And this is just, that's how a judge can totally steer a case. And these people, these prosecutors, these judges, they're totally compromised. Is anyone tied to Soros is totally compromised to begin with.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to answer your question, in a perfect world, I mean, everybody obviously has biases, but in a perfect world, in the way that our justice system is supposed to work, people that rise to the level of district court judge, or even lawyers that are adjudicating, cases, obviously they are supposed to be biased against their, for their client, and they're supposed to be working in the best interest of their client. The judge is supposed to be that neutral arbiter that oversees everything and simply makes sure that everybody follows the rules. And they are meant to look past their own personal biases. And there are guardrails in place, such as those that Judge Marchand went past when he donated directly to the Biden campaign, when he donated directly to that super PAC that was explicitly set up to stop Donald Trump and his radical right-wing agenda. I think that's a quote. Okay,
it's right in the first paragraph of their messaging.
Yes, and that is completely illegal. All right, that's the kind of thing that could get a federal judge disbarred, kicked off the bench, and rightfully so. He should not be allowed to practice at all. And it's even more obvious when you read the transcript and you understand that he was so far from being unbiased throughout the entirety of that case. He was working for the prosecution, and it's just so clear. And then you add on top of it the fact that he was not randomly chosen to be the judge on that case. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, Brad. It's like a lottery. Okay. And Judge Marchand just happens to be the guy who gets randomly chosen for every single one of these cases that comes up in his district. Like, ooh, bada bing, bada boom. Look at this. I'm here again. What are the chances? I mean, it's infinitesimal, Brad.
Oops,
like it's there's nothing random about it. So clearly this is a rigged game against Donald Trump. And I honestly believe that this was the best outcome that Donald Trump could have hoped for them to be so blatantly against him and working in the favor of the prosecution, having a judge who broke federal law in order to oversee this case, refusing to recuse himself, standing in the way of the defense, making a defense for the defendant. This is not supposed to happen. And, I don't think there exists a federal judge who doesn't have a bias. Everybody's voting. Everybody has their own opinions, but most of them show up and at the very least keep up the pretense of not allowing their personal biases to enter the courtroom. Now, Judge Marchand, although he claimed to not allow those to influence his decisions in the courtroom, it was so clear that they were. Now, when we get to the appeals process down in Georgia, it's obviously quite clear that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade and her office, I mean, she campaigned on getting Donald Trump in the exact same way that Alvin Bragg campaigned on getting Donald Trump. So they are also highly biased against Donald Trump, but they're prosecutors, right? I mean, you expect the prosecutor to be biased against the defendant. But she has been so openly biased, making comments in the public square about the guilt or innocence of Trump or any of these other co-defendants, that also is outside of the boundaries of what is appropriate for a prosecutor to do. You make those statements in the courtroom. You don't say it before the trial or before jury selection because you run the risk of poisoning that jury pool.
Right.
So now the appeals court halting everything. This is just a natural extension of that appeal that Donald Trump had filed to disqualify Fani Willis. Now, the judge that is overseeing this case, who also donated to Fani Willis and was friends, he actually worked for Fani Willis before becoming the judge. He declined to remove her. He gave her the choice to remove either herself or Nathan Wade, but he should have disqualified both of them. I think that he was well aware that she would likely be removed on appeal. And the halting of everything as that appeal continues on, because they're not going to have the hearing for her removal until the 4th of October, halting the proceedings is just an extension of that. Because why carry it on if it's likely that she's also going to be removed? Because that's going to make it impossible for them to adjudicate all of these cases against every single defendant, not only Donald Trump. So I don't necessarily, it's possible, but I think that it's just a natural progression of the events as they're happening. In another world, Donald Trump or any other defendant would not be facing charges in like 6 jurisdictions all around the country, right? So it just wouldn't happen at all this way, and they would wait for one thing to finish before they would move on to the next.
Yeah, and I think that's ideally what they were hoping for when they first brought all these upon him. And I kind of like where it's going. I'm not going to lie. I understand that it's probably not over with the different prosecuting cases, but also the documents case and with Jack Smith, a lot of that seems like it's starting to be up in the air now, especially with Eileen Cannon. If we come here, oh, it's funny. I went to click it on top because I forgot we don't have to do that anymore. She reshuffles the hearings in Trump documents case, and she's been great. She's been absolutely great. And so I feel like these things are actually going in the right direction. Obviously, we didn't like the conviction, but what you were saying there, it actually makes it's so over the top with the 34 counts that it just shows the bias outwardly, and it actually turns into a silver lining where you can push it on someone. You can kind of say like, look, I told you they're corrupt. There's no way this could have come out like this. And again, when you really look into the case and what it's about, and it basically comes down to semantics almost, like, oh, this should have been put down like this, but it was put down like that because we have a claim here that it was really for a payment, which is just basically hearsay from someone who's already been charged with perjury once before. And then we're not going to hear your defendant who can prove that he's lying about his mindset at that time. So it's a very easy thing to turn into people. And then you're going to see now with the Hunter Biden case juxtaposed on it that he's probably going to get nothing. Although with him, I have a different idea with that. But the two together, they're going to be great to make our case. Now, what do you think about Hunter Biden and all that? Because I know it's certainly with a drug charge, right? He shouldn't have been able to get a gun. But in general, I think it's interesting that of all the things this guy's done, and his father for that matter, the only thing they're bringing him on is a gun charge. It's almost like they're trying to get us who stand up for the Second Amendment to applaud someone getting charged with a gun when I think people should be allowed to own as many guns as they can. Do you think they're trying to play that sort of game there?
No, I think that there are many other felonious acts that Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family engaged in. And I think that the drugs and the gun crime is the low-hanging fruit. That's the easy thing for them to go after because it's a more salacious crime. Everybody is having such a good time calling Hunter Biden a crackhead. I am. I know I am. Okay. And I take great pleasure.
Plenty of fun to be had around.
Yes, I take great pleasure in that, humiliating him all over the internet. But it's a lot better for them to have everybody focused on that. Oh, the hookers and blow and crack and, the laptop, than to focus on the millions of dollars from the pay-to-play schemes. That brings in Joe Biden and James Biden and, all 9 Biden family members who are implicated in the transfer of this ill-gotten gains from a variety of different sources. So I think they're going after Hunter for these gun crimes and for the drug crimes because that's the easy thing for them to go after. And, anything else, they'll be able to do that after Joe Biden leaves office, after Merrick Garland is no longer the attorney general. That's when I think it's going to make sense to do that. Now, I'm sure you're aware that Hunter and James Biden were just referred for criminal charges to the DOJ for lying to Congress. And the DOJ, what have they been saying recently? Nobody is above the law. Donald Trump's guilty verdict proves that nobody is above the law. Okay, well, if nobody is above the law, Hunter and James Biden both just lied to Congress on multiple occasions. Congress knew James Biden was lying at the time that he did, and that's why they asked him the same question like 5 times and then showed him the text message proving that he was lying, and he still would not admit the truth. So, if they're going to live up to their own expectations, then they're going to have to charge Hunter and James. And I think that's going to be really interesting. But your statement about the juxtaposition of the two cases next to each other, absolutely. I think that Hunter Biden was only able to get away with what he got away with for such a long time because there are two different systems of justice. The other great thing is that the FBI confirmed the validity of the Hunter Biden laptop today in court.
Beautiful.
They entered it into evidence, and then they testified to the fact that it is real, that it's not a Russian disinformation campaign. And that statement right there, that validation is going to completely blow up Hunter Biden's lawsuit against Garrett Ziegler and Marco Polo.
Yes.
It's not revenge porn. It's not been altered. It hasn't been doctored in any way. Okay, the laptop is the laptop, and those are Hunter's messages. And, he lost ownership of that. Somebody else got it because he failed to pay for it. He failed to come pick it up. He was too busy smoking crack and, getting foot jobs from hookers. All right. So it's his own fault. It's nobody else's fault. So they're not going to be in any legal jeopardy. And I got to be really honest with you. It was refreshing to have that vindication coming from the FB motherfucking I. All right. After they and so many other intel agents went out and wrote that letter saying that the Hunter Biden laptop had all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation and that it was a Russian snow job on the Biden family, getting my channel deleted. So many people getting their channels deleted for reporting the truth, for reporting on newsworthy events. Yeah. And I don't care about being back on YouTube. I'm certain they're not going to let me back on YouTube, but it was good to get that vindication. It would be nice if someone
took it over one day, like how Elon did Twitter. Then it would be fun to get everyone back and to bring that party back with that. But not for nothing, Rumble's catching up, man. Listen, they are where YouTube was in like 2007. So, or maybe like 2008, 2009. And everyone likes to think YouTube was the well-oiled machine it is now since its inception. It was not. I had a very early YouTube channel. I know you did too. And they went through, it's funny, they went through almost all these same, growing pains, I guess you call it, were just steps. So it's really cool to be on the ground floor of one. And they're going to be where YouTube is anyway. So I like where we are. It won't even matter if someone buys YouTube. It'll just be a nice secondary thing. It's kind of like how Truth Social is getting better and better. But now we also have Twitter again. So if YouTube ever comes back, it'll be that. But I don't think YouTube will, since it's owned by Google, and Google's pretty much literally the evil empire. They're not going to give that up. And we have a beautiful thing going on with Rumble here. But I love that I love going to what you were talking about with the laptop. It's kind of come full circle, right? Because it was literally in the lead up to the 2020 election that this all went down, right? In October of 2020. And it's almost 4 years later now in the run up to the next election, which should be a super boomerang if all indicators are correct. So you're getting the boomerang on that. You're getting the boomerang on tons of different things. And it would be really interesting if ruining the credibility on that gives us a really strong talking point going into the 2024 election and elicits the exact opposite of what happened in the lead up, which it served to kind of hurt us.
So, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking too, a quick thing on FBI. I had said, I remember saying like a stream a while back, like, it's funny, you grow up thinking the FBI are the good guys, and like you're in the movies and the FBI, and then you grow up and you realize, oh, they're kind of, well, at least a good portion of their leadership, when used the wrong way, can be very evil. And then I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, actually, that's not true. We always grew up calling them forever bother Italians and then in the New York, New Jersey area, because they're always going after anyone who's anyone selling some freaking lottery tickets on the corner. Are you in the mob? Are you in the mob? Everyone's in the mob. So the FBI, they have a long history of being.
That's beautiful. I've never heard that one before.
Yeah. Yeah, it just hit me the other day. I was like, oh, wait a second. No, we didn't. We grew up thinking they were the bad guys even then. Okay.
I mean, I never really thought the FBI were the good guys. I mean, we always joked about our FBI file. Somebody in the chat said something about giving your biometrics to the Israelis, which I guess Twitter is going to request from people but I think it was for monetization. And they're not going to let me fucking monetize anyways, so I'm not giving them anything.
Hard pass on biometrics for anything.
Yeah, yeah, but ultimately, my point is that they've already got your biometrics, guys. If you're at all concerned about them finding more information about you, long story short, they've already got everything. All right, they've got a main line into everything that you search for, all of your messages, every single web page that you look at. If you think that anything you do in your life is private, then you have a sorely mistaken here.
You got another thing coming. I want to make a quick point on the quality of the video. I just say everything's really clear on my end and even in the studio. So for some reason, I think they might need to do a low output in the beginning while they're still rolling this out. But I have no doubt that it'll get better over time, right? I
think it's actually your internet, Brad, because your video in my Zoom call looks pretty cloudy.
Oh, really? Because I'm crystal clear in the Rumble studio. Everything's clear. So it's like Rumble on Rumble's end. They have a clear feed to this right now.
You know what? I'm actually looking at it over on Rumble, and it looks better than it does in the Zoom window here.
Oh, okay. See, that's interesting. So maybe Zoom's a little weird, but yeah, it's coming through on the Rumble Studio crystal clear. So
here's the other thing: is that Rumble Studio is not in 1080. So I think at best it's 720. And that you can also, however, let me just give you guys
definitely not in 720. It's not outputting in 720, that's for sure.
No. So if you go to your Rumble video window, like in the bottom portion, there's a little machine cog. If you click that, you can change the output quality. It's probably on auto, and you can change it to 720 at 1280 by 720 at 2.8 megs per second, or 1980 by 1080 at 4.5 megs per second. And when I just changed it to 1080, it doesn't really look like it's changed. It still kind of looked like it did at 640.
Yeah, mine looks the same too.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, you can all theoretically you can change it. You can also change the output quality on Pilled as well if you're having any issues with it on Pilled.
Yeah. Well, again, I guess it's like anything else. They're just, this is pretty new. It's kind of like we've gone through a lot of different inceptions with Rumble, and I have no doubt that they're going to try and find a way to get this out nice and clear as time goes on. But it's really cool to be using it, because now we can use the Rumble. I could go back to using OBS, which is fun. And then we could have a little more control over things. And like, if you guys read the banner right below me, you'll see that this is brought to you by Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance. And those are our good buddies over there. Good buddy, David Becker.
David Becker is
the man. And If you guys are paying too much for health insurance, is absolutely the place to go. The high cost of medical insurance is about to get more daunting. Shocker, but a Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance has a solution. For over 30 years, David Becker has been helping small businesses get the best possible PPO coverage at affordable rates. Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance is pleased to announce the addition of new United Healthcare PPO plans in addition to the Cigna policies. So whether you're a sole proprietor or an employer with a larger group, there are proven ways to reduce your cost and get the best coverage available. David Becker and his son Jesse are here to help you get the best possible PPO insurance coverage at the lowest possible rates. If you're stuck paying for your own insurance, why not give David and Jesse a call to see how they can help you too? You guys can call for a free quote at 609-577-8557 or go to badlandsmedia.tv/Becker. Both are in the info box and the number will stay on the screen. And you guys should do it. I know a lot of us wind up working independent, especially in the woke corporate world. So this is a gift, stuff like this.
Yeah. So I see a lot of people in the chat questioning the idea of Trump's vice presidential pick. I'll be really honest. As I don't think that Trump is going to bother announcing a VP pick until the last possible second. I mean, because as soon as he does, it changes the narrative and it takes the spotlight off of Trump. Right now, the only story out there on the news is Donald Trump, whether it's positive coverage from right-wing media, positive coverage from podcasters, or negative coverage coming from the left-wing media. As soon as he announces the VP, then people are going to start covering that person, and they're going to start looking into them. What we need right now is a total 100% focus on Donald Trump. And this is all part of the marketing wizardry that Donald Trump has mastered over the years in ensuring that the conversation revolves around him. So I would not expect to see anything regarding a VP pick until it's absolutely necessary. Certainly at the convention, he's going to be nominating somebody. He's going to mention it probably when he speaks before they officially nominate him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think he could probably go a lot of different ways. I like Ben Carson, but I don't think I've really heard too many people floating that too much lately. I see people floating JD Vance. Like, we good. He seems all right. I don't want
JD Vance. I don't want JD because I want JD in the Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, JD has had a remarkable turnaround. I mean, and I feel that this is just my advice, guys. But you know, people change, people learn. All right. And JD was not a fan of Trump until he got to know him and until he saw what he actually did as president. And then once he did, he became a total Trump loyalist. All right. And he's 100% Trump now. I think that we need people like JD Vance that are Trump adherents, America first, 100%, to be in those places, the Senate and the House. There are lots of people. Think about this, too. JD Vance already being in government, I feel like he's a known quantity. What we need is somebody that the elites would absolutely never want to be president, okay? Somebody who they would be afraid to have as president, all right? So, you know, it's got to be somebody who's just as hardline as President Trump, but perhaps, you know, would even be less afraid to go scorched earth.
Oh, definitely, man. Yeah, it's weird. You always have to have they call it like the insurance policy, right? And yeah, someone that they absolutely don't want in there. I don't know who the answer is. I've heard a lot of good things floated. To be honest, I don't think it necessarily matters. I think Trump's second term, it's going to be, he knows the way it lands. So I think it's going to be very surprising to people at how little I got tricked by this guy happens, because that happened a lot, right? There were a lot of people who turned out to be bad or turned on him. I think some of them were playing roles. I think some of them probably were playing the role of pretending to be good to Trump and show their true colors. There's a whole smorgasbord of what that was. But now, they've been in it so long, he knows the lay of the land. He knows who's cool. He knows who's not cool. He at least has a decent enough of idea, and his team has decent enough idea. They got to see a lot of the back end of things too. So you think about this, for 4 years, they've been working up different ideas what to do. Like, he came in and did tax cuts and stuff like that, and he was trying to cut regulations, and he had ideas of what he wanted to do in Washington. But now those ideas were being formed by just what he was seeing on the TV and what was getting through to the public. Now his team has been forming 4 years of ideas what they want to do based on what they saw when they were on the inside, and it was a whirlwind. But I just think it'll be 100 times more effective. He knows the lay of the land. I feel like whoever he picks for VP will either be a really bad pick that no one wants to be after him, or he's going to pick someone who's just as epic as he is, and I'm pretty psyched for it.
I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. Okay. His administration at the time was made up of Washington, D.C. insiders and people who basically were foisted upon him because that was what was required to get the support of the hardcore GOP loyalists, the deep state GOP, right? Yeah. He needed that at that time because he was an unknown quantity to the American people. Now, the only thing he needs is the support of the American people. Fuck the elites, okay?
Right.
Fuck all of the rhinos. Fuck the GOP. It doesn't matter. It's Trump or nothing, all right? So the last 4 years, exactly, his administration has now been structured based upon what he experienced in Washington, D.C., based upon who he knew he needed to cut out and who he knew was not going to be there to support him in the times when he needed them. Anybody who is not 100% loyal to Donald Trump will not be part of this administration because we cannot afford to have somebody else in there that's going to be stabbing him in the back. So now I don't think he's saying anything about anybody because he doesn't want to show his hand. He doesn't want to let anybody know who he's planning to pick so that they can't come and try to corrupt them, so that they can't show up with some sort of blackmail scheme and then covertly turn them against Donald Trump as he's coming into office again. That's why you're not hearing anybody. All of this stuff is going to be as last minute as it possibly can be. And that way it will not allow the deep state to prepare any sort of counterattack against Donald Trump or any of the people that he picks for his cabinet or any of his appointments. Clearly he's got people around him, right? But I don't want a bunch of Washington, D.C. insiders to be the people that make up Donald Trump's administration. There are plenty of people who were in the last administration who I think are loyal and who will be just fine coming in and being part of it again. But there's also many, many that I think need to be nowhere near it. Like when he said the other day, maybe there will be a place for Nikki Haley. I don't believe that at all. Yeah, I think that Donald Trump loves to say things that get people talking. Okay. And if he's saying publicly, oh yeah, Nikki Haley, she might be good. Okay. After, everything she did, like she was not going to support him and she ran against him after she said she wouldn't. Who does that appease? Does that appease America first, guys? Does that appease anybody who wants to vote for Donald Trump? The answer is no. Okay. It's an easy no, I'll tell you. That only appeases the rhinos and the establishment and the deep state loyalists currently in government who think if we can get Nikki Haley that close to Donald Trump, then maybe there's a hope that we can control him. All right. And so Nikki Haley, her name is bandied about. That's not for us. Okay. That's for them. That's to make them feel like, because they know that he's coming back. That's why they're trying so hard to stop him. They know he's coming back. And their best hope at this point is to get his administration filled with moles again.
Yeah, well, it's a total war of psyche. It's a war of narratives. It's a war of psychological operations. It's crazy. That's why a lot of times I don't even try to guess. They're like, is this guy good? Is that guy bad? I have no idea, man. Because there are so many different narratives. We learned that in the drops. There were things that were written clearly for the CIA operatives reading them. There were things written for us. There were things written for their own operatives. You see things like this, like you're saying, the statement for Haley, that could just be a little carrot and stick. Oh, give them a little hope, like kind of lead them up so you could rug pull them at the last minute. Now, when he was in the first time, I think the reason and the first time why he's surrounded himself with a lot of people is obviously they were hoisted on him. Obviously, I think he thought maybe some of them might have even been good and he wanted them to be there, but he couldn't just go in with his own people because you don't know how the bread is baked, right? You don't know how Washington works. If you want this secretary to do something, they don't know who to call to get it done. They don't know anyone, any of the avenues. If you're just bringing people in from your friends or people who haven't been in Washington, they have no idea who to call. They're going to sit in an office by themselves and twiddle their thumbs, and maybe they'll eventually get it. But if you bring in the people who have been there, you get to watch them. You get to see, okay, I want this to happen. And then you see, who does this guy call? Who does that guy call? Who are they rounding up to do it? Where does that team? What's their whole feel? Okay, I want this done. And you watch another team go. And you get to watch the spider. I guarantee you, Trump himself, but also his people, were documenting every single line of communication in Washington. And just so they could, when they get in, they could get real stuff done. I bet he's going to have more of his own people. I think he's going to have people who he feels are from Washington but vetted. And it's going to be glorious. And he's going to have a lot more support of the people. He has way more support now than he did in 2016, of course, even in 2020. And that's also, too, is why, man, you know, I keep going back and forth with, is this really a show? Is this not? Lately, I've been leaning more towards for the most in 4 years, guys. I have leaned more towards maybe this was a show. Maybe they really let Joe Biden in and didn't even bother to attempt the rigging to show the people what would happen and just let the country endure 4 years of stress and pain with this guy and say, so people like me and Zach can turn around and be like, see what I mean? Stop. Like, I was talking with my brother earlier, and he's certainly not a Biden supporter, but he was a Bernie supporter, and he was convinced that Trump was evil along the way. We just don't talk about it for years now. I know he still kind of feels that way. I can feel it, but I just don't want to bring it up. Yeah, he's my best friend forever. There's certain people where it's like, I don't need, to make this point. But we were talking about groceries, and even in New Jersey, he was saying that it's double the price, man. I'm hurting. And I almost took my chance to be like, you know what? It's double the price. And I didn't. But I know he knows why. And even like the people who you just kind of let that sort of conversation go, they know why. Everyone knows why. Because you put the deep state in Washington. Literally put a proxy of the deep state in Washington. They immediately signed 100,000 EOs, cutting off gas and oil renewals and doing this and totally flipping everything around until inflation went through the roof in 2022. And now it's been teetering out, but we're just going to feel that pain. That pain doesn't come back. Is that not like inflation's gone into a negative numbers where it's going back down? Now it's only going up back to a small clip. So everyone knows why. Trump is going to have way more support. Everyone knows that their paychecks were fuller, that things were running more smoothly, the economy and just life in general when Trump was in office, whether they admit it or not. I think there's going to be a lot of outspoken support that he didn't have beforehand, a lot of the regular support that he's had the whole time. And then I just think there's even going to be secret support who go, yeah, down with Trump. And then they get in that voter box and they go, fuck that, I'm over this guy, So it's the American people. He's going to have way more leeway to do what he wants with his administration, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I remember on election night, just like being flabbergasted that this steal was pushed through. And at that time, we were sitting there and we're just talking about this. And I'm like, the only thing that makes sense to me is that they allowed this to happen so that the American people would see just how bad things can get. Yeah. So that they recognize they can no longer accept this broken system, because it truly has rallied the entire country around him. And every single person is looking back at their life under the first term of Donald Trump, and they know that life was better. And now they know that election fraud is real. And they know that the Biden crime family is truly a mafioso clique that's running Washington, D.C. And they know that the Clintons are criminals. And they know that the government does not have our best interests at heart, and that the CIA is blackmailing Congress in order to get whatever they want done. This is truly the definition of bringing this nation to the edge of destruction, to that precipice, that ultimate dangling of your toes over the edge of the cliff, looking down. All right, because we are this close to this country imploding on itself. It was impossible for Donald Trump to get done what needed to be done. And now he's turned the Democrats into supporters of a wall. He has turned the entirety of America around on so many different issues. Okay, illegal immigration. Okay, it's no longer racist, guys. You're just a freaking moron if you want to let unrestricted illegal alien migration, invasion forces from around the world to come in. Okay, obviously you must want to die. Okay, the entirety of this country turned against the COVID-19 clot shots. The entirety of this country turned against Anthony Fauci, Saint Anthony Fauci. All right, we know about biological weapons facilities. We know that the CIA is running Ukraine. We know that this ridiculously stupid military industrial complex is trying to push us into World War III with Russia. I mean, everything that you can possibly imagine has been a 100% turnaround. So yes, when Donald Trump comes back into office, he is going to have a mandate from the American people, and we will have the freedom to fix this country. And most importantly, the support from the government that Donald Trump is going to build. And these people will be wiped out. I see people keep mentioning Ivan. Retribution, you guys. That is what's going to happen. Retribution for the American people. Retribution for what they've done to this beautiful nation, to pervert it, to subvert it. We're taking it back.
I freaking love it. We are taking it back. Thursdays at 4 p.m. right here on Badlands.
That's right.
I love it. Yeah, dude, it reminds me of this because, again, this needed to happen, and there are so many more people who are totally down to take it back than there were in 2020, which is amazing because I thought 2020 was maxed out at that point, at least on our front, as many as like just straight up red pilling people who were kind of common sense, but not totally read in. I feel like we had hit like a, what do you say? Like we had leveled out a little bit, right? We had plateaued. That's it. And this was the way to go to that next leap. It had to happen that way. And it reminds me of this. And I know we don't typically go into post too much on this show. It's not necessary anymore. But it reminds me of this. Was HRC next in line? Was the election supposed to be rigged? Could people prevent the rigging? So that, to me, I've always read that as they prevented 2016 from being rigged. Obviously, Hillary Clinton thought 1,000,000% she was going to win, which is kind of suspicious that she didn't even have a freaking concession speech, which you never know what's going to happen. So that just means they knew it was going to be rigged. Now, this I always took as they prevented it, which, again, I've gone back and forth. But if that's the case, could they do it again? Did they just not prevent 2020 like we were saying before? Did they just let it happen? Because, man, it is starting to seem more and more like that might have been what happened. And if that's the case, and then they're going to step in and maybe at least try to prevent something in 2024 on top of all the extra support, this might be like Reagan 84. I hope, knock on wood, of course. But
think about this. Think about this.
Yeah.
I've said this on my own show many different occasions. The Trump organization essentially is in control of the national RNC right now. All right.
Okay.
And the RNC has been training lawyers and election monitors to be present in poll rooms and in count rooms all around the country. All right. Certainly, they're going to have a heavy legal presence in the most important swing states where we frequently have talked about fraud. Okay. There will be people paying attention this time around that simply were not there last time. It was like the RNC just dropped the ball because they didn't really want Trump there. All right. They didn't believe that it was necessary and that they could just continue on with their power sharing arrangement with the Democrats. But all that was going to do was just allow America to continue to slowly get worse and worse and worse, bad enough over a long enough period of time that people would just continue to accept it, as we had up until that point. Now, because of that quickening effect, having to make up for the 4 years that that Donald Trump was in office and Hillary wasn't, that 16-year plan to destroy America had to get kicked into overdrive, which forced Americans to confront the reality of what these people have in store for us. Now, this time around, since it's the Trump organization that are going to be watching, that will have lawyers on hand, think about this. Obviously, they're going to try to cheat on election night. Is it necessary to allow them to cheat all the way so that they try to declare Joe Biden the winner? Or will it only be necessary to show on election night a concerted and organized effort in all of those swing states with the same sorts of methodologies that get caught in the moment and then immediately reported, and people start speaking up, and then America is like, you know what? They were right, okay? They definitely cheated last time. We're not going to stand for it this time. And perhaps people get red-pilled that way. I think it's one of those two possibilities, but I've been kind of struggling with what will be necessary to force the American people to say, you know, no, we're not going to allow this to happen. I mean, because if they declare Joe Biden the winner and every single person you know goes into that box and votes for Donald Trump and knows they voted for Donald Trump and knows that nobody else voted for Joe Biden, and they say that Joe Biden wins, people are going to be out in the streets. Okay. But if they catch them in the act and they can say, you know, look, we've been waiting and here it is, we've got proof. And then, of course, there will be elements in the background waiting to make sure, waiting to give that proof in a legal sense if it's necessary. And for people in Congress, they're going to certify the vote. All right. What if they're like, you know, hey, we're not even going to think about looking at this vote until there's a real investigation. And then they force it to happen right then and there. And everybody is watching at that moment. Red pill either way.
I love this. I like this scenario a lot, and I can see that happening a lot. And dude, it's the way to do it, man. And it'll be a combination, right? If you catch him in the act and you show everyone, that's when those people who probably didn't vote for him in 2020 or 2016, who finally said they're going to do it this time, go, I knew something was wrong. I even voted for him. And then their friends are going to go, you voted for him? Oh, crap, I did too. And all of a sudden, they're going to be a little, everyone's going to feel emboldened to finally say it, what they did in secret. And it's just going to change everything. And then he'll get in. And once he's in, honestly, first order of business, there's all these amazing things he's talking about doing. First order of business is to fix elections. I honestly believe if you fix the elections of this country, you would have maybe a quarter Democrats in Congress, a quarter. And then also 2 rhinos would be able to be voted out. Just imagine the majority of our Congress filled, and the Oval Office, of course, just filled with regular American patriots who just want a good land. We work so much in this country. We create so much capital as just the American working people. We fund the whole world. We would be able to live so well. And I just think it's really going to blow people's mind. I really feel it coming down the pike. And once Trump does that, if they get in and they really fix the elections to where it could be as close, obviously nothing will be perfect, but it would be as close to legit as possible. Then the very next time in 2026, you're going to get half of Congress voted out. We're just going to be able to totally sweep them. And half of the Senate voted out, and just get normal people back in power. And it's going to be pretty freaking awesome, dude.
Well, you know, in Arizona, the Arizona GOP just sued the Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, who was previously employed in Maricopa County, because they did an audit and they found like 1.3 million registered voters that either are not real people, or they're dead, or they don't live in the state anymore, or they don't have real addresses. You know, I think that
no big deal, Zach. Well, what's the big deal?
Well, my point here is that all we need to do is have the GOPs for each of the states where we have problems with election fraud, where like all the Eric states, okay? Let's look at all the Eric states, because they have the real-time monitoring of the ballots and the voter rolls, so they can see who voted. They know who is not going to vote because they're not real people. And so then they can inject those votes into the system at any point that they want to. And then they know who are real people, but who are unlikely to vote simply because they don't, but they're registered. So in Arizona, I mean, that 1.3 million, I mean, that is far beyond the margin of victory, quote unquote, that Joe Biden was handed back in 2020. If they only do that in those swing states and clean the voter rolls, because, I mean, it's a federal law, they have to. You know, all of these Secretary of States have failed to follow the National Voter Registration Act. And so the party sues the Secretary of State and the state, forces them to clean the voter rolls before the election, and that gives them zero opportunity to inject those ballots in the way that they did in 2020. That is a distinct possibility.
Dude, that is power right there. Knowledge is power, and having access to that sort of information is totally right on the path to fixing it. And as we were saying, that how in Arizona that's well past the margin of victory. A lot of the states, especially a lot of the swing states that went, the margin of victory wasn't that much. That one of the reasons why I was very suspicious. It was like all of a sudden at the 0 hour, Joe Biden got just enough to win in all these key areas that put him totally in the lead and flipped everything. So obviously 2020 was very eye-opening. I think it was meant to be. We know a ton of different things to watch. It happened while the world is watching, right? The world is watching, another familiar phrase that we're used to. And just things like when Michigan, when they were recounting the votes and they're putting up papers on the wall so no one could look in. Electors, poll watchers being said how they were kicked out. People coming in with all these different anomalies, voter anomalies, vote anomalies coming in the middle of the night. It goes on and on. We've covered it a million times. But that was meant to happen on the world stage, because right now everyone's primed for it. Even the people who say, no, it was free and fair, in the back of their head, they go, oh, you know, I think they might have stole it, but I'm happy they did. But now those people are not so happy. And this had to be this way. This is the closest I've been to this is we're watching a movie in a long time. And I'm not sorry about that, because I think very much we needed to feel like we weren't watching a movie, because people need to be freaking galvanized and energized. But nevertheless, it's cool, man. It's exciting. I'm getting very excited for the 2024 election. And I know it maybe should be a little gun shy after 2020, but who cares? It's going to be fun. Trump's going to hopefully steamroll them. Yeah, I
think he is. I'm feeling really good about it. So some just people continue to talk about who may be in the administration. J.R. Majewski will definitely be in the administration. So funny story. I saw awesome. Brad, I think it was Brad Eicher. He said, isn't J.R. a farmer? J.R. is not a farmer. J.R. has a big yard. Yes. And he used like the same kind of paint that they use for like football fields. He painted that giant Trump sign in his yard. And President Trump, because, you know, he's big with farmers and, you know, supporting American farmers, he started telling the story at the rallies that J.R. Majewski was farming in those fields and he painted Trump all over those big, beautiful fields. And so he told the story like that, but he's not a farmer. And Trump knows he's not a farmer, but it's a good story. Okay. And Trump's a showman. JR is actually a nuclear engineer, so he would be perfect in the Department of Energy, if anywhere.
JR has been killing it, man. I'm so glad he stayed on this path too, and he didn't get discouraged after the first time, because they're gonna screw with you.
He had to drop out right before the primary.
Yeah, but I'm saying even after the last time, because this is the second time he's running for that seat.
Yeah, but no, he had to drop out the second time too.
Yes. Yeah. Both times he's had a job. I'm saying I'm glad he's not discouraged by that. And he's keeping this going, because he's a powerful voice. And he's someone who we know for sure is a real patriot. Is, you know, a normal dude who has good intentions in his heart. And
absolutely. Yeah. He's solid 100%. And, you know, he and I talked about it the second time, why he had to drop out. And, if you guys want to see that story coming from his, you know, own telling of it, you can go to my channel and see the last video that JR and I did. But there's so much more to that story.
It's compelling, guys. You really should check it out.
Yeah. And so, I'm hoping that after Trump gets reelected, JR is going to be able to speak about it even more. Yes, Fredo, he would have Q clearance. Yes.
I love it. Well, he would also hopefully have some really good coffee, Zach. Because
let's talk about it.
Yes. Because it's time to say goodbye to Starbucks and say hello. Oh, I think it started. I don't know. Doesn't look like it started on my end.
Is it showing up on the screen? It's got to show up on the screen.
You've got to start. It's just ineligible to perform.
No
longer
refresh.
Available. Okay.
The altered state view, didn't you, Brad? Didn't you mean to hit the altered state banner?
Yeah, when I accepted it, I didn't realize it at first, but it came up. The other banner was on, and for some reason, it just went to the background banner. I don't know why it shut my camera off for it.
Okay, so yeah, there we go. Now it's working again. Don't worry, guys. It was on purpose.
Yeah, totally on purpose, guys. I actually will say that neither of those things were. They're both on the back end here. I don't know why why either one happened, but we will. I'm sure everything's getting tightened up as it's going, so it's good.
You guys could hear Brad speaking, correct? I mean, it wasn't like the audio went someplace again. Yeah, it was audio only with the altered state banner, and then of course the QR code for the Rumble app. Just anybody who's watching. If you're on Rumble and you're not signed into Rumble, then you can't hit the like button. And it says the audio was gone too. No audio or video, they said.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. So
okay.
you
there was a banner there for a bit, so that's good.
Yeah.
The thing's gone now, but basically it was just saying, with the Rumble app, it's very, it'll notify you guys. You can follow us, and even if you're using it for Rumble, which is where I use it, it's a very good way to watch all your favorite Rumble things.
Download the Rumble app. You can get it on all of the TV apps too, like on the Apple TV. You can get it on Roku. You can get it on Samsung and Sony and Android TV. And then here's a tip. I mean, you can watch it on the big screen, and then you can chat on the phone so that you can still interact with people, because the chat is really like the best part. I mean, this is why I love going live, right? Because we get to look and we can see what people are saying. We can end up having an interaction with them. And it looks like maybe the video's frozen. Refresh your screens, guys.
100%. I know it's frozen on my end too. Again, everything in the studio looks pretty straightforward, so I think it might
I was giving like
an output.
Audio with frozen screen, it says. You're both frozen, but we can hear you. Yeah, sorry guys. I'll run the back end next time. How's that?
Yeah. If you
Just
if you
find
want,
out.
that works. But I mean,
People are like,
oh wait, hold on.
one
No, I'm
by
not going to
five.
take credit for this. This is all happening on Rumble's end. I love Rumble.
Is it on Rumble?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, so
but
we can test it out.
yeah,
We'll
no,
test
yeah,
it
we
out.
can totally test it out. But I
Right.
ran test streams before this. Everything worked fine, and everything is going
Looks
into the
fine.
Rumble Studio on my end. It's getting this whole feed perfectly. So it's just
That's
outputting it wrong. So I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people using it right now. Maybe it's a little overrun, but we do have. I don't know. Maybe we get to our donations here.
Yeah, you guys, we do have to cut it just a little bit short tonight because you can only set up one Rumble Studio at a time, and so John and his crew for DPH have to get set up as soon as we get done. So let's go ahead and go through these donations for sure. And thank you very much, everybody, for the generous support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. We got it's not showing me the name here. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, guys.
I've got them pulled up. I can do it. It's okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So we've got, first of all, Blue Eyes, the lovely Miss Zerbo over there, says you two are the true altered state now. And that was in regards to the craziness at the top. Yes, DPH is not listed yet because we have to finish this stream, PJ. LKW Cross also says the true altered state. Jason Snow says you have an international audience. God bless you all. Red Pill 78 and Badlands. Thank you, Jason. Jason, tell us where you're watching from. Dix Sept says, hi, Zach and Brad. Just a reminder for everyone to hit the like and show a little love for our Badlands content creators. Thank you very, very much. Boozer20 says, appreciate the work. Thank you, Boozer. Freight Awakening says, I was a Carson for VP guy for a bit. Then I liked Vance, but now I really want Flynn as VP. Someone that would make them scared shitless if eliminating Trump. Flynn is their biggest fear after DJT. I agree with him there. I really like General Flynn, and I think General Flynn would be a good bet because they would never want anything to happen to Trump for Flynn to become president. But I struggle with the idea of where Flynn would be most useful. Certainly, if he was vice president, he could be in charge of making sure that staffing was on point for the White House, because you want to have all of your best people surrounding President Trump at all times. And so Flynn would be very useful in that respect. But I also think that him heading up any of the agencies that persecuted him, like let's say, you know, he oversaw the FBI and cleaned up the FBI, that would be amazing. If he was to be the Secretary of Defense, I think that would be amazing. I kind of think, though, McGregor for Secretary of Defense and Flynn for FBI or Flynn for VP. I think either of those would work really, really well. And then Jason says, I'm listening from Scotland, your brother in peaceful arms. Now our peaceful speech can be a warrant. Yeah, in Scotland, if you say the wrong thing, then they can come and arrest you now. But at least your dipshit woke prime minister did have to resign. I thought that was pretty sweet. I don't know who's taking his place, but the PRU says, I want a Steve Austin 316 as Trump VP. That would be something else. Maybe a little too close to what was the president from Nacho? What was his name? Oh God, the Mike Judge film about
Camacho.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Yeah, Michelle Obama.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, something like that. So yes, Steve Austin, that would be fun. He also says, I want a family of UFC Gracies as a follow-up to Trump. You mean like Hoist Gracie? Like the original UFC champ way back in the day? That was like when I was in high school when he was fighting.
Yeah, that was
Jason Snow says 100, Trump is going to jail. 100, this is the plan. I think that Marshawn would put Trump in jail in a heartbeat. And if he does, it's going to be spectacularly bad for them. I also made some awesome Trump prison memes. I'm going to show you guys here. Well, I don't know if we're going to have time, but I'll show them to you tomorrow on my show. D Patriot 1776 says, Brad, a dead guy won the primary in New Jersey 10 last night.
Oh my God.
Donald Payne Jr. He died back in April, but he was still on the ballot. New Jersey sucks. So I talked about this earlier today, Brad. The thing is that in New Jersey, once you're on the ballot, you can't be replaced. Okay, so it was like it's this kind of backwards law that ensured that people would vote for him. Now, what they're going to do is have a special election in July, and they're going to go ahead and elect the real person at that point, and then that will be the person in the primary or in the general.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Republican.
Yeah.
And then, so thank you, D Patriot. And then Jason says, extreme accountability, LOL, Stu Peters. C. Kretz is now a monthly supporter. C. Kretz, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Jason Snow says, would Badlands and Stu Peters' platform support each other? I can't speak for anybody else, and I tend to think that Stu is very selective about who he supports. And I mean, I know everybody else is here as well. So I really don't know. Freight Awakening says 3,700 people watching and only 611 likes. Hit the thumbs up, bigots. Hashtag Mohap. Yeah, please. We've now got 4,000 people and 800 likes. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button, please. And that's why you should join Rumble, so you can hit that like button. Earth Garden Living says, I suspect Trump's VP pick will be someone who is not in the media right now. Think stealth bomber. Certainly, I think that all of those establishment politicians that they're floating for the VP, I think that's cover, because the person who it's going to be is going to be somebody that they don't want and somebody they're not expecting. I think you're totally right. And then American Worker says, what happened, guys? Fredo says, with the production value of tonight's show, you have truly lived up to the title of Altered State. LOL. Fun show. Thank you very much, Fredo. And then Shane Furs says, cheers, all you patriots. Together we stand. Yes, we do, my friend. Yes, we do. Tattooed Teacher says, I don't know what you did, but you've got the best video quality now. Great show, guys. Yeah, unfortunately, it's nothing to do with what we did. It's all it seems to be totally random how they're doing this stuff. PJW says, dead people have been voting in New Jersey forever, and finally one of them won. Yes, I was thinking that myself earlier. You know, I'm used to dead people voting, but just not dead people getting elected. I thought that was great.
It's wonderful.
And then Salt Muncher ODA says half of the voters are dead, so a dead candidate makes sense. And then AZ Warbear says, hey, you fucking mooks. Love the show, guys. Love you too. And I'm not seeing anything over on Pilled, so I don't see any gold pills over on Pilled.
All right. Well, and seems like got one of the books. I don't know. Yeah, screen share seems to be pretty decent here. It's not bad quality, so that's something to think about. Not sure why the other one again is going through the back end. It's totally clear on the Rumble end, so there's no reason why they can't just put that through. I'm sure they're working on it though. And we here love Rumble. Thank you guys for hanging out. And DPH will be coming up very shortly. Zach, this was experience. Sorry it was a little wonky, guys, but I promise you, I already tested. I did everything normal. This was all just going in and out on Rumble's end. Like even when it was working, it would just started working. It was like I was doing the same exact thing. So it wasn't like I was changing anything. I did notice though, for future, anyone who's using this, when I did the screen share the first time on Zoom, it prompted the screen to start working. So that's why then eventually I lowered it, and then and then the main feed was working again. But it's just something that kicked it in. So, all right.
All right. All right. So John's in the chat urging us out.
Yes.
So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Make sure that you head on over to DPH. It's going to be starting at 10:30, just like normal. And I'm sure it's going to be another banger of a show.
Amen to that. All right, guys. See you next week. Peace.
Peace.